Okay, good morning, grade 11. Hope you all had good weekends. This is just a video explaining what we're doing this week. I'm sure you can tell from the title, and I'm sure you're excited. Yeah, obviously this week we're going to, or rather you are going to create a practice IO, and we're also going to choose our schedule for next week's IO conversation, which is something I'll explain a bit later on. But an important announcement about your individual orals. So your individual orals, your actual individual orals, we have scheduled for June 8th to June 16th. Me and Mr. Peter, in collaboration with Simon, sort of have been discussing this. We've thought long and hard about this. We all feel that it is still best to get these done by the end of this term, if it's possible. Next term we will have a lot of things to do. The text we're looking at are very heavy. We also have the HL essay, and also we feel you're fairly ready for the IOs. Of course, if the school has not reopened, I mean, at the moment the plan is to go back June 2nd. If the school hasn't reopened, of course, we will move them, and our backup date is August 3rd to August 12th, which is, I think, the second or the third week of next term. But as it stands, we are preparing for our individual orals June 8th to June 16th. Okay? So we're going to look at, these are the texts that we've studied. These are the non-lit bodies of works that you've looked at. Obviously, if you're going to choose Frost or Dickinson, it's a single poem, 40 lines only, and your body of work is a collection of Frost's poems and Dickens's poem that we've studied. If it's Persepolis, as I mentioned, we've done this before, 2 to 4 pages. Body of work is the whole graphic novel. You can take part 1 and part 2 in isolation if you want. You can look at both of them. So if it's Macbeth, it would be 40 lines, a 40-line extract, and obviously the body of work is the whole play. For our non-lit body of works, we looked at the photography, taking 1 to 2 photos. Body of work is the entire collection. For the ACLU, for the Dove adverts, sorry, Gillette, not Dove, 1 to 2 adverts, and the body of work is the whole collection. For Gladiator or Snow White, you're taking 4 still images that don't necessarily have to all be in the same scene. I would really suggest that you do take 4 still images from the same scene, and the body of work is obviously the whole film. I think the easiest thing if you're going to do Gladiator or Snow White is just to take screenshots. I think that's the easiest way to get still images. This is just sort of a reminder about structure. There's not a set structure for the IO. There is nothing formally the IO have said. All I will say is remember you've got 10 minutes to present your argument before the 5-minute conversation with your teacher. I'm just going to go through a couple of possible structures. Again, don't have to use these. I'd suggest you do, but it's up to you. The first structure is the one that we've largely used. You have a 1-minute introduction. You introduce your extracts. You introduce the body of work. You introduce your global issue. You then looked at extract 1. You looked at the stylistic features. You link this to the body of work and the GI. You then go on to extract 2, do the same. You then conclude. You link the GI if you can, if it's relevant to the world today, and sort of any further questions you have, any other possible areas of exploration. Second structure is slightly different. Is that you talk about the body of work first, and then you link this to GI. So you talk about your body of work and how it links to the GI, and then you give specific examples from your extract. The advantage of this over structure 1 is it ensures you talk about your body of work more. I think the only thing I would say is, in general, that we need to do more is we do need to talk about the body of works more and how they relate to the GI, not just to mention them in the initial introduction. As I said, these are just 2 examples. What you'll notice for both is that I've split it extract 1, extract 2. You'll see examples online where it's not like that. I think this is the best way because it's really important that your IO remains balanced. And this way, at least if nothing else, you're talking about both extracts for the same amount of time. You know, as I said, it's really important that you talk about both extracts for the same amount of time. If you have a look at the rubric, you'll see if you don't, it massively limits your score for criterion C and D. Your IO does not have to be comparative. You're not comparing these two. You are showing how both of them link to a GI. You know, so you don't have to say, well, in extract blah, 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 it uses the stylistic feature, but in extract B, it uses this stylistic feature. You're just saying how they both relate. And as I mentioned before, the one thing I'm not sure all of us are doing at the moment, you need to mention the body of work in detail and how this links to the GI. Don't simply list stylistic features. If you just list stylistic features, you're going to score really poorly for criterion B and A. You know, what are their effects and how do they link to the GI? How do they show the GI? Do not make a script. I know I say this time and again, but still some of us are doing this. If you make a script, remember that there's going to be a 5-minute conversation you have with your examiner. And it's very, very obvious if you've made a script because the quality of your answers in the first and the second part are noticeably different. And the IB are absolutely ruthless about this because they do not want candidates to make scripts. And so if you can't answer a question about one of your extracts in the second part of your conversation, but you talked at great length and in great detail for the first part, the conclusion the IB are going to come to is you made a script. So don't do it. You know, apart from the fact that it's not particularly ethical to do, but apart from anything else, I've been doing oral exams for nearly 10 years now. I've never seen a candidate who has made a script, a clearly prepared script, do well in an oral exam. It doesn't help you. So do not make a script. And last but possibly the most obvious, but look at the rubric. See how you're being assessed. I've attached the rubric to this task on Google Classroom. Look at the rubric, okay? So, you know, our activity this week, it's fairly straightforward. You're going to prepare our last practice IO. This is going to be our last practice IO we do before the real thing, okay? On Google Docs, I made a Google Doc called IO Outline and Planner, May 2020. Use that. We're not going to mess around with the IB PDFs because they always mess up and people are losing work and stuff. So we're just going to use what I've made for you. It's a bit easier. You can choose any lit work, any non-lit work you want. So we've looked at 4 lit works. We've looked at 6 non-lit works. Any one you choose, any combination, completely up to you. As I said, I will be going through and giving you feedback on your film analysis. If you want to wait for that, let me know. If you want to do something else, that's fine. So your IO is due by 3 p.m. on Sunday, the 10th of May. So it's a bit earlier. Normally I say 7:30 of the Monday, but I need some time to actually listen to some of the IOs before week 8. So obviously you just need to hand in the Google Docs, and your audio file needs to be submitted to Managed Bag. And if you have a look at the Google Docs, literary work, non-literary work, global issues, if you fill this in by Thursday, I'll give you feedback on this. I'm only going to give you feedback on this. Then you have your IO outline, and then you're going to put your extracts here. Okay, so you're going to post everything in this doc, but the audio file is going to be uploaded to Managed Bag. And the second part that is important is obviously there is 2 parts to the IO. There's the part where you're talking as a candidate, and then there is the 5-minute part where you're having a conversation. And if we were in school, we would go to the recording room and do this, but we can't. So what's going to happen is you're going to record your IO, you're going to send it to me, I'm going to listen to it, and then I'm going to call you, and we're going to have the 5-minute conversation because I think it's really important. So in order to do this, I've made a Google Doc with a schedule. You have to put your name down when you want this 5-minute conversation to happen next week. When I say next week, I mean week 8. Conversation only takes 5 minutes, has to be done with video, okay, because it's really important that I can actually see you and see how you're responding. So it's really important for this part. Normally I say if we do a Hangouts, don't have to use video, it's fine. For this part, you have to. If you don't have that on your computer, Google Hangouts can be downloaded on your phone. Shush, Chloe. And so have a look at the document. It looks like this. If you're in HL class, put your name in red. SLHL, put your name in blue. I can do up to 6 conversations in total per hour. If it's black, it means it's unavailable. I'll be available on Google Hangouts as ever, and Wednesday morning we will have a brief Hangouts chat. Okay, so have a good week and good luck.